Hey everybody, welcome back to the Brand Exchange podcast. My name is Yohji. I'm absolutely delighted to introduce you our guest this week, Mr. Rob Cleo. He's one of the top 30 leaders on LinkedIn to follow, and he's been an art and creative director for more than 20 years, working with exceptional companies such as SM Retail and many, many more. He's currently the co-founder and CEO of New Brave, and he is also, most impressively, a design thinking advocate, a teacher, a educator, a facilitator, a consultant. Wow, Rock, I have to stop listening this up. But welcome to the show.
All right, thank you so much, Yohji. This is actually a privilege and honor to be part of your podcast. I'm excited to this.
Awesome, let's do it. Since this is the Brand Exchange podcast and we want to focus on branding and strategy, and especially all the brand related consultants like the both of us, right? It is not something that like we wake up to and decide to do, right? I mean, at least from my end, I was not 18 years old and woke up and I was like, oh, I want to be a consultant because it sounds fancy or anything. So maybe so I don't speak for you, tell us a little bit how your design career started, or if it wasn't design, please.
Thank you again, Yohji. Well, my journey to my creative career, it started when I was as a graphic artist. It's really funny because I started laying out in the time that there's no YouTube yet. So you have to go to the library and check the book of Adobe Photoshop and learn about those technology. That time, the programs for designing is CorelDRAW, freehand design, and those are, I think, unfamiliar already, or how do you care? It's ancient already. So it's really funny as well that you won't believe this. I started laying out using PowerPoint there. Mm-hmm. And because since I don't understand the Photoshop, so little by little, I learned from my mistakes and I became, really literate in using those technologies, those programs. There, so I jumped from company to company, not just to, raise my salary, but to learn something that I felt that I'm missing or lacking, So that's my reason why I jumped to company. But to tell you frankly, I stayed to company for 4 years, 5 years, 3 years. That's how long I stayed in the company. Again, yeah, I don't jump into the similar company. I just jumped to another company because of something that I felt like I'm missing something skills. For example, I jumped into a corporate company as a corporate designer. So from there, I didn't understand how to conceptualize everything. Just all those account managers or marketing managers, they asked me just to do this layout, everything, etc., etc. So for me, how do you do a concept? So that's why I jumped into advertising agency. So luckily, I was able to go to a design studio company where we do posters, flyers, calling cards, brand design, and it took so long. I understand the research part, the strategy part, but laying out for a poster, it took us 1 week, 2 weeks to develop one poster. And I told them, I told myself, how this magazine, when I started browsing magazine, I was wondering, how many people doing this magazine? When I check it, it's only one person, an art director. So in the Philippines, the setup here is a one-man team. So there's only one art director. And then that art director doing everything, the photo shoot, the art direction, the branding of that particular magazine. And I was wondering, how many issues are there releasing every year? It's 11 issues. So that's one magazine per month. And this 100 pages back to back. And I was like, how these people were able to do this kind of layouting skills? They're probably really creative and their critical thinking is really good. And I tried to apply into publications. That's where I learned everything about design. So the font psychology, the color psychology, the wow design, the wow factor, everything there. And then I was able to do layout really fast. That's why
That's
I was
awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I think like all these things, right? Like understanding layouts, understanding grids, understanding colors, like those are
Agree.
these kind of things that you get sucked in at your honeymoon design phase, right? When you're learning and everything is new, everything is awesome, and suddenly you know how a grid works, and like things suddenly look like a Bauhaus poster or something like that. But I think like because we have a lot of entrepreneurs listening, and I think like, that specific design topic might not be super related. So I have a even more important question I want to ask you, and that is like, when was it the first time that you realized that all these kind of things were not important enough for businesses, or maybe wasn't fulfilling enough for yourself? What was that aha moment where you said, okay, like there must be another level. It can't just be creativity, right?
Yeah, actually a good question, no. When I became an art director, I became a leader. That's the aha moment for me, which is I need to uh, I need to do something else, no, aside from this designing. Yeah, I understand, no. In most of the companies set up, design is or the creativity is the most regarded skills, no. They thought they just this is just a design. The sales team is still gonna sell this. But for me, I think there is something deeper from this design, which is I need to understand, which is the business side, no, the business side of this branding. So the aha moment for me, no, whenever I do this nowadays, no, as we mature into this branding, the aha moment for me is when I was able to crack the code and then enter to the realm of these entrepreneurs or this client, no? And then from there, I can design their vision to visuals. So that's the aha moment for me. So whenever I talk to my client, I always keep on asking questions. Sometimes they say that and I can see their faces, they're getting irritated, no, for me keeping asking questions. But for me, I think I cannot do a visual or I cannot interpret it until I go into your core. I need to understand what is the vision of this client. So once I understand that, I was able to go inside your inner core. I think I can easily express the vision of this client into visual.
Yeah, I think I had pretty similar epiphanies in terms of that. I think it's just like the biggest part for me, it was really when someone told me like, hey, like you're in the business world now, this is not an art contest, right? And it's so true, because especially for all the younger ones, like they're always like thinking of, yeah, I put so much effort in this social media post, and now everyone's gonna come and buy the product. Like that never happened in the entire universe, not even once, right? And I think there's such a big misconception about brand needs in terms of like design. Like, what do you think is like one of the biggest misconceptions or biggest misunderstandings of like people do these days when they work with brands?
That's an interesting question, no? The gap between the business and the creatives, no, and what we're doing. I think, in my opinion, no, there are three things, no. The big gap of the creative people in doing this business is, number one is sales. Okay, most of the creative designers or creative people, no, they don't know how to sell themselves. No, that's one factor. And then another factor here is being introvert. Yeah, we understand that all designers or creative people are introvert, but that's something that's the hindrance them, no, to get more client or to express the vision of that client into visual, because they are so introvert and shy to ask questions. Next, the last part is the client relations. No? I think that's one thing that most of the creative people needs to understand as well, the client relations. Yeah, this is the job of the salespeople or the account manager, but client relations is really important. That's why whenever I talk to a client, they're always telling me, yeah, I talked to the person and I'm texting him. He's not texting me anymore. I'm calling him. He's not calling me back. I emailed him. I don't know what happened to this person. I told the client, that's what you call nowadays ghosting. Ghosting? What's that ghosting? Yeah. they cannot say no to you. That's why they just fade away dramatically. So that's what's ghosting. So I think these are the big gaps, between the creative, and business side of it.
Yeah, I think in just figuring out where the problem lies, right? And like for your previous topics about like finding the core and finding the purpose and understanding the vision of someone for us and for you and for everyone in this field to be able to make good decisions for the client, right? There are a million ways of getting there, but I know that you are specifically thought of one idea, which is called design thinking. And I don't think many people know what it is. Okay, so I would really love for you to give us the kindergarten baby idea of what is design thinking.
Thank you for asking that. No, but before I answer that, I'd just like to add that branding, another misconception in branding is brand is not just a logo, font, colors. No, there are more than those things. No, in branding, which will be, I think, we can discuss it further later. Well, design thinking, essentially, it's an art of problem solving and decision making. Design thinking is correctly identifying the root cause of the problem and designing a solution in a user-centric way. So that's my definition of design thinking.
Okay, so it is basically a mindset, right?
Yeah, it's a mindset, where you put human in the center. That's why it's called human-centered methodology.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what human-centered means?
Human-centered is in terms of branding. So whenever you think about your brand, you always need to put the human in the center. So you have to think: do they remember the name of this brand? Okay, always the customer, huh? And then if you choose the font, does this font readable enough for your customer? For the scholar, is this scholar really attractive to this person or intimidate them? Or is there something politically, associated with this scholar? So you need to be mindful of those clients or your audience. And then if the brand voice, when you do a brand voice, when you talk to them, does your perceptions or the voice of your copy, and even you talk to your client, to your customers, by the way, rather, when you talk to your customers, does it sound irritating, inviting, or friendly? And then when you do the commercial side, when you do promotions, when you do that, something like that, so do you sound something inviting or friendly again? So again, at the end of the day, always consider the customers or the human who is receiving all of this, the branding that you want to project to these people. So it's really important to connect with them, because if you don't connect with them, this is again the misalignment of what we think, okay, and then versus what the customers think about our brand.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you will never design a brand for you as long as you are not the absolute perfect persona. You have to create for your customers, put your customers first, put your customers in the center. I absolutely agree with that. Could you maybe give us an example? How is design thinking used, or in which ways do you use design thinking to solve a particular problem? Could you give us an example?
I already conducted so many design thinking since I was in a corporate, and now this is also the framework or the methodology I use for my client. So in e-commerce, this is where my strengths are, the e-commerce.
Okay.
So whenever we do the digital marketing or for a particular client, the usual approach is they send us their strategy and they wanted us to execute it right away. But I tell them, hold up a little bit. We need to do design thinking workshop first before we proceed on this strategy, because I really want to understand the purpose and the value of that company before we proceed. And then from doing there, we are doing I'm facilitating a workshop just to understand clearly about this client. And then the turnaround or the result of this, we connect our messages, it's really connected to the audience. It sounds personalized. it's humanized now, and then also the engagement is really high. So one case study, one of our client, they just wanted to have a lot of followers in their social media, and then in 3 months we were able to create a turnaround on that, success story. And then another case study. This is a multinational agricultural product, which is based in the Philippines. They wanted to have an e-raffle. Okay, so they have a sales target. I asked them, what's your sales target? And the challenges, this is the challenging part. Most of our audiences are remote areas. There is no internet in that area. So we have to think of ways on how to reach these customers. So to cut the story short, we were able to reach them, and we were able to give their ROI in just 3 days. So it's 1 million pesos in just 3 days. So we ended up in 3 months campaign, we were able to generate around 50 million. So,
Wow.
yeah. So, I felt they paid me short because of the result, but I was so happy because of the design thinking process that I applied to them, and they were so happy as well, no? So I think
So
that's
they basically came to you and said, okay, hey Rock, we have this problem, and said, we had so many meetings about it, like we're just going in circles, like we don't come up with a proper solution for our concern here. Can you just try to come in and kind of like map out our mess and just like lead us towards a simple solution? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. In fact, 8 out of 10 clients now that I talk with, I think what the right word here is insanity, no? They're giving me the same thing, no, again and again, but they're expecting different results. And I was like, have you done this before? Yeah, we've done this before. And what's the result? There's no result. So why are you asking me to do the same thing, no?
Right.
So yeah, I told them, can we do something this way, our agency way? And they were like, yeah, let's give it a shot. No, there's nothing to lose. No, if we try this kind of framework. And then when they tried it, everyone is so engaged. Everyone, from the executive all the way down to the senior management level, they were participating, and I was so happy because all of those brains they were being thrown into the kind of brainstorming or / workshop. The output is really remarkable, and the result of that is, again, it's all based on that process, which is I highly recommend that not to all the clients that we handled.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, just to sum up for everyone who's listening, so design thinking is a mindset how to solve a problem in a very fast way, and the way you do these kind of like sessions is with workshops, right? Then they can be digital or they can be physical. So basically, how these workshops work is that you visualize information, right? Because I think every meeting sucks. Like most of the meetings are just so terrible in terms of finding a solutions, because if you have 5 people in the room, first, I don't know, Annette says something, and then Gab says something, and then, I don't know, Marcel says something, and after 10 minutes, everyone already forgot what Annette said in the first place, and like no one finds any solutions. So I mean, I love workshops as much as you do. I think they're the absolute best thing in the world. I would like to make like a free advertising here. Rock, if all the possible innovative companies in the world could hear you right now, what would you tell them? Why should they do design thinking and workshops?
I think something that need to encourage companies not to use design thinking. First, design thinking is the skills to future-proof your organization. That's one. It's really important. Second, your organizations will be able to develop a success skills. What is the success skills? Success with the 5 C's, 5 C's. So first is collaboration. Second is communication. Third is critical thinking. And the fourth is the creativity. And the fifth is clarity. So those are the benefits now. That's why I'm encouraging every company to practice this design thinking in through their system.
Absolutely. I think for me, the biggest selling point that I always have is just saving time, right? Because I think if they stuck for it for like, let's say 4 weeks or so, just didn't get anywhere, imagine how much time that is lost, how much money that's lost. One entire month paying an executive team of 10 people, 1 month salary. I'm sure that's, depending on your company, that can be almost $1 million, right? So what if we could come in and say, hey, like, we have a process, we have a model that works in terms of getting to solutions faster, whatever problem it might be. Is it a problem of like, hey, how can we design the next meeting room? What projects should we focus on next year? What do our clients don't like about our checkout counter on our website, right? It can be really anything. And I think that time-saving part for me is really the biggest aha moment on the workshopping, design thinking, problem-solving part of things that I have witnessed.
That's really true. That's really true. You can save so much time, if you have a process. And this process is the design thinking.
So we talked about workshops and design thinking now kind of like separately, but they are, I mean, every design thinking session is a workshop in some ways. Like, are you also running other workshops besides design thinking? Do you have any other like processes or models that you would like to share with everyone? Maybe someone like it's interested and would like to reach out?
Yeah, definitely. I'm conducting design thinking workshops, trainings to companies now, and that's what I've been advocating ever since. Now I learned about design thinking, and that's one. And another thing is I do facilitate design thinking to help organizations now pinpoint their problem and also find the solutions. Just like one of the multinational pharma company that I facilitated with. It's a 3 days hackathon. We called it hackathon because they really invited other departments. No, it's really funny. They really make their pay worth it. So they invited a couple of departments, and they called and the HR director. Right. We organize it like a HR. It's like a hackathon. And then after 3 days, they developed the prototype and they submit it into the international innovation competition. Luckily, this multinational pharma company won first prize ever, first ever won. And I was so happy. I was so happy. I cannot disclose the name of this company.
No, it's okay.
I was so happy because, again, in fact, it's not my idea. This is as a disclaimer, to everyone. The output of the idea came from me. I am just a facilitator, and the job as facilitator is to extract all of these ideas and connect the dots and create something magical, out of it. So that's a job
absolutely.
So I just take the credit of me as a mediator and facilitator using the design thinking process. Again, I'm not I am not an industry expert. I can work with any industries. I am a process expert.
That's a really cool topic. I want to talk about that for a bit, because I do think that if you're a 50-year-old CEO or chairman of a company, that you definitely would struggle to, hire a 35-year-old consultant in terms of getting a really, really important issue of the company aligned, because what the heck does this guy know? And it's true. I don't know shit about what the CEO knows, right? For sure not. But this is also not our role, right? Because exactly the way you said it is that I don't know anything about real estate, but we still launched at least 20 real estate companies. I don't know anything about technology, live streaming, but we aren't here to lead the way and to basically unlock the full potential of the team, right? And I think that is the power that lies in workshops, in design thinking, in visualized information strategy, like all these kind of things. And I want just to be more companies to be aware of it. Like if you don't feel good about, hiring someone from the outside to come in, just practice it, right? There are DIY solutions. There are a few questions that you can ask to kind of fuel the discussions already of just very simply of hey, let's everyone write down on the paper what we want to do and we're going to vote on it. Something super easy, right? This is not rocket science. So like really baby steps towards getting away from meetings, one person talking, 10 people listening, everyone forgets everything kind of strategy to like, hey, let's write everything down. Let's be a little bit more thoughtful about how we do things, what we do, etc. Right? And I think that's such a great component of running workshops.
Totally agree with that, Yohji. Yeah. That's what I always do. I always ask them to be tangible, more tangible than discussions, because most of the organizations now, they like discussions now. And everything is in the air, And then after a while, when you step out of the room, what did he say again? What's the topic again?
Yeah, exactly.
What's an idea that you just mentioned? Yeah, I forgot to take note of that. So
to everyone that's it, who that sounds familiar to, please Google design thinking after listening to this. All right, Rock. We both know that nothing is perfect. So let's talk about maybe a flaws that a workshop can bring. So obviously, from a facilitator point, like there are many hurdles and many obstacles that you can mess up as a facilitator if you're not good at it. But there are not many facilitators, so let's talk about it from the client side. What have you experienced in terms of people joining your workshop or joining a workshop? What they struggled with? What can be the problem?
It's actually a good question, because most of the time when I do facilitation, all of the participants, I don't know, for some weird reason, they don't speak up unless I call them. And then another thing is, I think they're shy about their opinion, or they're just really shy because there are some other people from that department they are not comfortable with. And then last thing is the fear of rejection. So they're scared to throw up an idea, because they're afraid that these people will kill the creativity, or this person will be rejected. And I keep on telling them that there's no right and wrong during this session. That's why I told them, this is a funny quote that I'm always share to them. What happens here stays here. So your voice or your opinion is safe. So whenever you step out of the room, okay, let's forget about that. Just move on and do whatever we do normally. Okay, so whatever happens here stays here, I told them. So as a facilitator, it's a really challenge for me for them to speak up and throw their idea. Again, I think there's a barrier of the hierarchies based on the positions. Because when I do design thinking workshop, I invited from different departments. So the reason why I invited the different departments, so that we could solve the problem right then and there. Okay, for example, from procurement, design, marketing, service, from brand, whatever people are concerned on this particular problem that we need to solve, I invite them. So now, I think, again, that's why I told you a while ago, the organizations will benefit in this kind of methodology. It creates the collaboration there. I think that these organizations have minimal collaborations that happen in their organizations. And then again, the communications, it only happens between the department. This is the usual thing, The usual thing is the marketing department will do the entire thinking, the strategy and executions, and then they will present it to the boss. And then the boss will kill it. Bam. So revise, go back to the drawing board. The marketing team will do everything, hard work. And then once it's approved by the CEO or the decision maker, they will go now to the procurement, to the sales team, to the supply or merchandising. And then what's going to happen? The merchandising will say, sorry, we cannot execute something like this. And then when you go to the IT will say, this is
because
really
no one was involved in the process, right?
Yeah. So it's really hard to execute this. Yeah. Unless we hire software engineer that's really seasoned and really experienced in this one. But it's gonna cost us a lot. The finance department will say, it's gonna cost us a lot when we do this. So those are the things that I experience every time I conducted design thinking. And I think the worst thing here, when I handle the client, the CEO told me, Rock, we don't need to invite all of these departments. You can talk to me and I will cascade it to my department. And I was like, okay, good luck on this one. I don't know what's going to happen. But I still need to proceed because he's the CEO and that's his word. But yeah, I try to encourage it. But he says, Rock, we don't have much time. I think the best person to talk here is just me.
Okay, well,
Okay.
I would have walked out of the room. No, I think that's not gonna work, and that doesn't have the impact, right? I think the number one thing of the workshop, aspect of the workshop, is just that everyone is in the same room and talk about it, right? I think that's the number one strength of this entire methodology of why you even come as a facilitator, right? Facilitating one person is not facilitating; it's just having a meeting. And there we are, where what we want to avoid: no more meetings, only workshops.
Agree. I totally agree with that, Yohji. Yeah. But it's a case-to-case basis when we talk about the workshops. Yeah, I sorry agree that we need to replace the meetings into workshops. But in some cases, no, specifically when we do brainstorming, yeah, we can do workshops and that. But in a sort of a small meeting, yeah, we could do a quick talk. We can do a quick stand-ups, no? Daily stand-ups is 50 minutes, and so that's fine. And then maybe dedicate another weekly scrams, no, to discuss the other matters.
Awesome. That was very refreshing to hear, Rock. I just want to round up our nice conversation to go a little bit high level view, because we talked about branding and brands the whole time, and in a way, just on a more problem solving specific parts of it. But this is the Brand Exchange podcast, and this is the question that I ask every single guest, because I'd like to collect as many information and many viewpoints as possible. And that question is, Rock, what is branding?
It's $1 million question, huh, Yohji?
Right.
Okay. Every brand strategist, they have their own definitions, no? And even if you Google it, you will able to find a different meaning of branding. So I'm glad that you asked, what is my definition of branding? For me, branding is an emotional perception of how a product and service will be remembered. It's the emotional perceptions. That's how I define branding. Okay, let me explain it to you further, no? And also to the listeners. No? Again, branding is not just about the logo, the fonts, the colors, and everything that you visually see. No? It's not just about that. It's in the emotion, because emotion overrides logic. Okay, that's what I believe in. So now, emotions, no? There's a particular product, okay? Let's go to, let us say Starbucks, okay? I think this is the best way to explain this emotional perception. So Starbucks as compared to another local brand, okay? Let us say brand X versus a Starbucks. So what do you feel when you have a Starbucks versus this brand X?
Right.
Okay.
Do you know what it is? Because I just read the paper on Starbucks. I know the vision.
Okay, yeah. I really love the vision of the Starbucks as well.
It's the key idea of Starbucks is to provide an escape from everyday hectic life. That's their purpose. That's their vision.
Imagine. So if we're going to scrutinize and dissect the message of that branding, they didn't even say we're the best coffee in the world. They didn't even mention that. So here's the thing, no friends. What they're selling here is the emotional perception that you will be able to get away from this rat race, just to stay in our coffee shop and have a sip of a coffee. It's the emotional feel, okay? So
just get a pause, just relax, right?
Yeah. So this is the same thing, no? Same thing like Nike. What they do is they celebrate greatness. They're not even telling that we have the best shoes in the world, we have the best sole, etc., etc. No, I'm not into sneaker head, no. So,
yeah.
but I understand.
It's a shoe company, and they're selling heroes, right? Yeah.
But you know what? What they're selling there is the emotion. It's how you feel when you are wearing these Nike shoes, and how you feel when you are at Starbucks as compared to other local brand X. Okay.
Correct.
It's the same thing as the car industries, no? Why these people is eyeing or their goal, this businessman, no, their goal is to buy Mercedes or to have Ferrari or Lamborghini. It's a statement, no? It's a statement
Right.
because I feel that I'm worthy to have this kind of car because I did a good job. I did a good job, no?
Right.
It's the same. It's the same emotion why you have Rolex. Okay,
Right.
so this kind of feeling became an statement. No, it's the same thing, guys. No, again, why did I say emotion overrides logic? Because again, I've been into industry for almost 2 decades, and I observe why these people buy a particular brand. So now I understand that people buy because again of their emotion. If they feel happy, they eat. If they feel depressed, they eat. Or the girl thing, no, they shop, no, when they depressed, no. I don't know about some men, no, but me, I don't I don't shop, no, when I'm depressed. So
Yeah, me neither.
but again, it's all based on the emotions, huh? It's all based on the
Right.
emotions. So I think Yohji, we have something in common, as a man. If we feel depressed, maybe we could say, yeah, maybe we could have something, one for the road before we go. Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Rock. Let's get this thing out of our head. Okay, if we have something collaboration happening, we're happy. Can we have a coffee about this? Can I
Yeah.
invite you for a cup of coffee and discuss something? Because we feel excited. We feel something great, you know. Again, the emotion that this brand leaves to that person, that's branding for me.
Yeah, it can be personal brands, it can be company brands, right? Like everything has their own perception, and it all plays together and then comes along and comes together in this ultimate picture and image that people have in their minds. And I agree with everything you said. The only thing that I would like to add as my final word today to all the listeners is that what you also have to understand is that you don't have one brand. Even if you're a very simple brand, let's say you sell cookies and coffee, you don't have one brand. You have millions of brands, or basically you have as many brands as you have customers, because every customer has a slightly different perception, because everyone thinks differently, and you can't control that in terms of that everyone thinks the exact same thing. You can just give them the right amount of assets, verbally and visually, to steer them in the direction that you want to be perceived. And if a few more people understand that, we're gonna live in a slightly better world. So, Rock, let's leave it at that. Thank you so much. I think the last 10 minutes were absolutely value packed. I love it. I'm excited to meet you in person soon. And
Same here.
yeah,
Same here,
thanks for
Yohji.
being on the show.
Again, it's really a privilege and honor to be part of your show, Yohji, and of course, meeting you in person. And as a business to business, we can go further on this one now. We can have a cup of coffee and discuss what we can do. I'm really excited.
Let's
I'm
do
really
that.
excited to this. Yeah, let's do that.
Awesome. Thanks, Rock.
Thank you. Thank you too, Roji. And to all listeners, thank you so much.